Welcome to the first chapter of the 8 Elephants Coaching Essentials Startup. If you've got your book in front of you, you've got this page, Chapter 1, Get Clarity. We're going to talk about this first elephant, and I have had my own mistakes with this particular elephant. I'm going to share some of that as we go through here with this. So you've got your first page, Get Clarity, right? And on here, the first thing that I say is absolutely essential is you have to know your strengths. What do I mean by knowing your strengths? I mean, it's fine for you to do a self-evaluation. We all think we know ourselves pretty well, but I'm going to tell you right now, it's really important that you actually take the Clifton Strengths Assessment. And why am I saying that? Because the Clifton Strengths will give you a vocabulary to make the most of who you are. The Clifton Strengths will tell you what you are, what you do, what you need, what motivates you, and also what you don't really like and how you like to contribute. And so a lot of these are really key to us understanding a little bit more deeply our why, because our strengths actually give us our why. It's deep in there, but if you can learn your strengths, I highly recommend it. You can do that by going to Gallup's website, to gallup.com, and going to their store. I highly recommend, if you're venturing out as an entrepreneur, that you do all 34. There's also going to be a link below where you can link to me directly, and we can put a package together so you can purchase your code along with a coaching session, which is really the best way to make the most of it. But you may have a coach in your community or someone you know already. So that's number one. I learned my strengths back in 2003. And I have to tell you, it was like I got a manual like a user's manual for working for myself. It just told me so many things that I would not have known how to explain why to. So beyond that, you need to know your brand. So knowing your brand is, who are you? What do you do? It's a really big component to what you want to put out there in the world. And so you have your actual workbook pages here. And for knowing your brand, you have questions like, what gets you out of bed in the morning and excited to face the day? What is your background, educational, professional, your life experience? All of that is valuable to what you're going to be doing. And what are topics you can talk about endlessly and passionately? So if we think about what gets you out of bed in the morning, it's really, what do you love doing? What do you yearn to do more of? What do you love teaching others to do, right? Because the more motivated you are and the more excited about what you do, the more consistent you will be showing up. What is your background? I have a corporate background. I have a hospitality background, but I've been an entrepreneur for 16 years now, since 2007. So when this is coming out in 2023, I've actually been an entrepreneur for 16 years, and it's not been easy, and you need to be resilient. And I have certainly made my share of mistakes, which we will go over as we go through different parts of this series. But your education is important. I didn't feel like I had really the knowledge or anything to go out there and do what I'm doing, but yet here I am. I'm always, every day, getting over a little bit of imposter syndrome, which we will all deal with at some point. But when you can really look at your background and not just certifications that you have, but the experience that you have something magical there. And it's really good to recognize that and get that down on paper. And then, what are topics you can talk about endlessly and passionately? What are the things you get on a soapbox about? What are the things you can't stop saying? What are things you repeat over and over again? Those are things that are really going to guide your messaging. So that's a really great place to look at what you're doing as well. Now, the next piece of this is to know your audience. Big piece of knowing your audience is not worrying about the naysayers. When I first started out as an entrepreneur, I was doing an event business, and that event business was great. But the funny thing was, I was going after a market that I thought would love what I was doing, but I got lots of pushback. I got lots of sarcastic comments. I got a lot of people who didn't think what I was doing was very interesting. And it was hard because I really didn't understand. But at the end of the day, there were people who were cheering me on. And so it was really important to focus on the people cheering me on, focus on the people that I didn't realize were my audience, and go after that. So a lot about your audience is actually going to show up organically when you figure out what you want to do and who you want to do it for. So who inspires you? Who do you love talking to? Who gets you excited? Because it's a lot less about who you want to inspire and about who inspires you, because they're going to keep you excited to show up day after day, even when things are hard. Who do you most relate to? Think of positions you've held, industries you've been in, places you've worked, roles you've played, both professionally and personally, because trust me, being a stay-at-home mom doesn't mean you can't do work and work with others. You have a vast knowledge and experience of things that you have dealt with that other moms may not know what to do. If you're a stay-at-home dad, same thing. So think about all the things you've done and where you really, who you relate to. What is something you've done? For me, it's being an entrepreneur. It's because I wanted a me for me when I got started out there. And I didn't have a me for me. And they wanted to charge me a ton of money. And there was nobody who wanted to believe in me at the price point I could actually enter the market. And so that was really hard. And so my passion is helping other people get started, because I believe everyone has a chance to do what they want to do and do what they love at any price point. It's just, you're going to have to put some skin in the game, but it doesn't mean you have to max out your credit cards and go into massive debt. So what do you think you can help your audience with? What do you think they need? What do you wish you had had somebody to teach you? That's another one of your questions in your journal. Know your values. What makes you qualified to be a coach? What makes you qualified to do anything you're going to do? Maybe you're not going to be a coach. Maybe you're just in a service industry. You could be a massage therapist. You could be a tarot reader. But what makes you qualified to do that? And it's not really just about credentials. It's about your life and your skills and your experiences. For example, one of the things that makes me experienced in where I am is the fact that I speak both languages. So that's an extra skill that I bring to the table, so I can do my work in Spanish or English. What kind of work do you want to do? Are you an advice giver? Are you an emotional supporter? Are you an explorer? Are you someone who wants to teach? Are you someone who wants to accompany? There's a lot of ways we can come out there. So if you're thinking about being a coach, you may not be a traditional coach. You might be a consultant. You might be a facilitator. You might be a lecturer. You might be a speaker. Who knows? But that's where you want to look and see, where do you feel at your best and where do you think you can bring your best game? What comes easy to you? What capability or skill do you have that people frequently marvel at? What is something you do that people go, oh my God, how did you do that? That was so easy. For me, a lot of it comes from my ideation. I tend to be really good at coming up with quick and clever ideas that for me, honestly, don't seem very quick or clever. But for other people who don't have that talent, it seems really amazing. And so thinking about this, I also don't call myself a coach. I'm a writer, and I'm more of a facilitator or a teacher. I love teaching people about strengths. I love showing people how to use their strengths in their business. And then finally, knowing where you want to work. Why would that be important? You might want to work regionally. You might want to work in your neighborhood. You might want to work online. You might want to work globally. What does that look like for you? And what would it take for you to work in the space that you most desire to work? You may want to take this on the road as a traveling show. You may want to stay home because you've got family you need to take care of. You may want to work at home. So being online would be a great place for you. So you just really have to figure that out for yourself. So I hope all of these tips have really been helpful for you on how you can get some clarity, because that's one of the key places for you to start is get clear. Who are you? How are you showing up in the world? What is it you most want to do? I hope you've enjoyed this. And if you need further assistance, please check in the comments and in the links below where you can schedule a one-on-one with me and we can have a conversation. Thank you for taking the time to listen, and I hope you're ready for Chapter 2.